Welcome on in to another week of Wager Talk Extra, where we and my great guests are reminding you that no matter what sport you're cashing in on, that money is all going to spend the same. We got another week of great action coming your way and an all PGA edition today. Andy Lang going to join me first. He's got his players that can trip you up, players you want to be avoiding. He's got his players you want to bet on in his DraftKings Darlings segment. And he's also got a head-to-head best bet for you. And Nick Borrman with his triumphant return to WagerTalk.com. He's got a top 10 strokes gained graphic to get you ready to go for this weekend's action. He's got an outright winner and a top 10 and top 20 play for you. So all kinds of free plays coming your way in the next coming moments here on Wager Talk Extra. So let's get right into it with my man Andy Lang. And Andy, who are we avoiding this week? Because it's the players that can be tripping us up. What are we trying to stay away from?
Well, we have to remember and realize that next week is a PGA Championship. So we saw Jordan Spieth, who might be dealing with a wrist injury. He withdrew from the tournament this week. So we don't have a lot of top players in this field, but we do have a couple of big names, and I think they can trip you up. I will start with Scotty Scheffler. Now, I'm not worried about him missing the cut because he loves playing in Texas. He's not going to just show up and hit the ball a couple times and miss the cut on purpose like we've seen guys do before the week before a major. But he's the top favorite in this field by far, and he has to win or at least finish by top three to pay any type of dividend. And this is not the course he thrives at all. This is a resort style course. It's very, very easy, and you just have to drain a lot of putts, and that's not his game. His putting is awful. It's minus 0.24 the last 6 weeks. He's not finished better than 15th at this tournament. I think he plays most of the Texas tournaments because he's very popular down there. That's where he's from. This is just a tune-up for next week's PGA Championship. I don't see him improving his putting. I don't see motivation being great this week. He's going to play respectable, but I just don't think he's going to win this week. And if he doesn't win, he really doesn't provide you any value. So Scotty Scheffler should not be in your lineup, should not be involved in any of your bets. Pass on him. He's a player that can trip you up. And we're going to go right back to Jason Day. Dan, we talked about Jason Day last week as a player that could trip you up last week. He missed the cut. Um, he's priced as a top six player, and that is a big stretch. We know he dealt with the big case of vertigo in the last round of the Masters that caused his big meltdown. And this last week was the first time he played since the Masters, and he missed the cut. And we see these golfers, they go into slumps really, really quick, and it's really tough to break out of these slumps. So until I see him return to form that he was before the Masters, I've got to stay away from him. No chance he should be priced in the top six. So Jason Day is another player that can trip you up this week.
All right, so we know who to avoid. We're staying away from Scotty Scheffler. We're staying away from Jason Day. How about who we should be betting on? Some value that you maybe find in DFS lineups or some guys that maybe are going a little under the radar in your DraftKings darlings, Andy.
Yeah, most of the time you'll see me stars and scrubs, but this week I just can't find too many real lower price guys to fit into price with some top tier guys. And I also don't think the top tier guys have that much upside. So you're going to see a lot of guys kind of around the same price. I will start with Andrew Novak at 7,000. Listen, he made the cut last week for us. He was one of our DraftKings darlings. Why not go right back to him? That was a tough field last week. So that's four made cuts in a row for Mr. Novak, and 7 out of 8. He made the cut last year, finished 46th. So I get a guy who's making a lot of cuts recently, and he made the cut last year at 7,000. Next, I'll go with Michael Kim. He's at 7,500. He's on a nice run, 7 made cuts in a row, and a seventh place finish last week. So this week with bad field gives me hope he has a little bit of upside at 7,500. And then we'll round out with JJ Spawn at 8,000. Listen, he's top 10 in total strokes gained in 2023 in this field, and he's top 10 in total strokes gained in this field just in the last 6 weeks. So nice little season he's having, nice recent form that he's having. He's never missed the cut at this place. So Novak, Kim, and Spawn are really good starts to build your DraftKings lineup. My article is up now at wagertalk.com. So if you want to go get that free digital download, it's on my profile page. Has the rest of the golfers I'm going to use for my DFS lineup in there, along with some other stats.
Yeah, and Andy, you also shared with us last week, head office doing a terrific promo for you. We have two different ones that is Andy 3 and Andy 7. So is today an Andy 3 or an Andy 7 day? And what does that mean for folks?
Okay, so Andy 7 is live today on Tuesday. It gets you 7 days for $79. That way, you'll get all of our golf plays, all of our weekend plays. We have a 5% UFC play that is up. We're running real hot in UFC and golf and Formula One, actually. So it's basically call it the Wager Talk Extra special. But you just use the promo code Andy7 and it gets you 7 days for $79. We brought in just under 6 units last week running this special. So very, very happy with that. The weekend was good. So use that one. That gets you 7 days. And then on Friday, every Friday, we will run the promo code Andy3. That gets you a 3 day pass for $39. Gets you all the weekend plays. The only thing you're missing out on if you wait until Friday is you don't get these golf plays because they go off on Thursday. So encourage everyone to use the promo code Andy7. Get 7 days, all sports, including 5% plays for $79.
I love it. I don't know how we stay in business giving that kind of stuff away, Andy, but I love it for you and your clients. All right. I also love when you give the folks a free play here. It's best bet time. And as you like giving them here on Wager Talk Extra, another head to head for the folks. Who are we eyeing?
I totally got burned last week. Spieth was terrible, and then it turns out he's got a wrist injury. That would have been nice to know before we used before we used him as a bet last week. I was stunned that they put Cameron Champ back up in a head-to-head because we love fading Cameron Champ. We're going to take Jimmy Walker, the resurgent Jimmy Walker, minus 129 over Cameron Champ. Anytime we can bet against Cameron Champ, we will. He has made 2 cuts this year. One was at the Mexico Open. That is a course that is basically made for him. So he made the cut there, and he made the cut the Farmers Insurance Open back in January, where he finished 53rd. So he's missed the cut in 18 of his last 23 tournaments. His stats are terrible, especially in putting. His big advantage is driving distance, and this is not a course where the Bombers have a huge advantage. The course is fairly short, so everyone's going to have short irons into the green. So it comes down to your short game, and his putting is just awful. Jimmy Walker, on the other hand, listen, this was a guy who you bet on a lot years ago, and then he got Lyme disease, and he was off everyone's radar, and for good reason. But the last month or so, he has just been fantastic. He's finished 14th, 15th, 25th, and 22nd in his last 4 tournaments. He's 5-2 head to head against Cameron Champ this year. Champ barely made the cut last year, and then he had a pretty decent finish, but boy, it was because of a pretty good last round. Walker did not play here last year, but with Walker's recent form, great stats in putting and tee to green, I love him to finish ahead of Cameron Champ. Grab this one before the line moves up.
And we will be cheersing with Johnny Walker when Jimmy Walker takes down Cameron Champ in the head-to-head matchup. Minus 129. Go and grab that before it moves. We already let you know, use that promo code Andy7 and get that terrific deal. Andy, we will have you back tomorrow talking a little UFC. And speaking of having him back, how about Nick Borrman back at Wager Talk? He's going to break down this PGA event this weekend right after this here on Wager Talk Extra. Welcome on back here to Wager Talk Extra, and it's an extra. Congratulations going the way of my man, Nick Borrman. He got sent down to Sports Memo, but like the phoenix, he rises from the ashes, and he is back as an exclusive handicapper with Wager Talk. So what, Nick? I love it. We got that Welcome 2023 that's going on that people can get reintroduced to you, taking 50% off any package up to a year all access. So I'm glad to say you're back over at wt.buzz/NB. And how's it been, brother? I'm sure you're pretty pumped about that.
Yeah, it's been a great welcome back, and it just means I get to see more of you, Dan. So what could be wrong about that? That's everything right in the world. But it's been a great start back at Wager Talk. Soccer has been red hot, 15-5 over just the last 4 days, and number one across 3 days, 7 days, or 30 days, no matter how you look at it right now on soccer at Wager Talk. So glad to be back and ready to break down this week's PGA event with you, bud.
Well, Nick, we were going to get you back at Wager Talk, whether you sucked up to me or not, but it definitely helps getting you back here on Wager Talk Extra. All right, before we break down, you always love to come on here with an outright. You like to take a look at the top 10s, the top 20s for the folks, but Really, you have a great way to prognosticate who performs well on these weekends, and it has to do with the top 10 strokes gained. You have a graphic for the folks. Break down why that's ultimately important.
First of all, great word choice, prognosticate. I had a quick
I thought so.
dictionary.com what even the hell you were talking about. But yes, that is the strokes gained is what we usually look to start each tournament with. And Dan, I just want to say one thing. We always throw an outright winner out there every week. And, one guy that I've been talking about a lot recently, and I swore I'd be on his first PGA Tour win, was Wendy Clark. And what do you know?
Mm.
Betting outrights is infuriating because you get out a guy, you're out a guy, you're out a guy, you decide to take a week off, and he goes out and wins. So congratulations to you, Wyndham Clark. You are now my mortal enemy. I was on Xander, who finished runner-up last week, but I digress. We move on. Dan, the top 10 strokes gained graphic is something that I look at to start every single tournament. Now, what this is this is the top 10 players in the field of that particular week coming in. And you can see on the screen, it's broken down by last 12 months, last 6 months, last 3 months. What's important to note here, the very first column is how it's sorted. So these are the top 10 guys over the last 12 months, total strokes gained heading into this event. 16 of 27 winners on the PGA Tour have been within these top 10 guys. You're talking 59% of PGA Tour outright winners this year have been one of these 10 guys. We know outright winners are hard to select. And you're not taking 10 every week, but if you're taking 3 or 4, you got to stick within this graphic because 59% is not, and this is not a small sample. We're almost, we're well over halfway through the season. And this goes back to last year too. This is not different. If you look back at last PGA Tour season as well. So that's why I wanted to put it up on the screen. And what you're looking at here is exactly that. And, Scotty Scheffler, clearly the head and shoulders name in this field. And he's only gotten better as we've gone into a shorter time frame, 6 months and 3 months going up. But then there's some notables like Taylor Montgomery, playing well over the last year, but kind of in a funk recently. You can see his downward trend over the last 6 months and last 3. And then, of course, at the bottom, number 10, Aaron Wise. But he's been taking some time off he wanted a mental health break. So that's why you see him where he is. But it's a good way to look at how guys are playing in the long term and the short term. And then the notables on the 3 are just 3 guys I choose that either are right off the list of the top last 12 months. Maybe they're 11 or 12, but also it's usually because they're kind of rising and they're starting to play better over the shorter term. So Siwoo, Jaeger, and Ben Griffin are at the bottom there. It's just notables this week that could potentially contend, but I'm recommending you stick within these top 10 guys if you're looking for an outright winner this week.
Well, in that little peek of how the sausage is made on how you handicap those, I'm noticing that there's a name that's absent that you want to make a case for. So it better be one hell of a case you have for the folks. Who's your outright free play for the folks on this week's edition?
Well, I didn't say you have to put every outright winner on your card in that graphic. I just think you want to, at least have a couple of those guys in your outright card. And yes, you are right. Seamus Power is who I'm looking at this week. He is 44-1 right now to win. And he's in the top 20. So it's not like he's way down this list. So he's just off this list. He's not too far behind. And he had a hell of a run back in the fall through the beginning of this calendar year. Dan, he had 8 straight top 25 finishes. He won the Bermuda Championship. And if you follow the tour with any regularity, the one thing you know about that time of year, the fall leading into the beginning of a new calendar year, is you're talking about a lot of weak field events. It's not really until March that you see a lot of big names playing regularly again. Though I will say that 3 of the events during his run were designated events, Tournament of Champions in Hawaii, then the Phoenix Open and the Genesis. So he did have some good results in strong fields as well. And this week we, of course, have a weaker field sandwiched between a designated last week and the PGA, the second major, next week. But he's since cooled a little bit. He's got 2 missed cuts in his last 5 events. They're all designated events, though, as I mentioned, so keep that in mind, plus the Masters. He did, however, return with the top 20 last week at the Wells Fargo Championship. And listen, there's only been 2 tournaments here at TPC Craig Ranch prior. This is a relatively new course for this tournament. But he did play both years. He finished tied for 9th in 2021 and tied for 17th last year. And then finally, the winner here, KH Lee, has won both years here. He's been in the mid-20s under par, so it's a shootout. You're going to have to make a lot of birdies. Power ranks 12th in putting average this season, so the guy can roll the rock is what you're going to be able to, or going to need to do this week to contend. So I like Seamus, 44-1 this week. Dan, we're going to catch him.
You don't have to talk me much into a 44 to 1 shot. Seamus Power on the outright market, says my man Nick Borrman. All right, you got a guy that you want to talk about for this top 10, top 20. That's also some nice plus money prices, who our producer Eric has affectionately known as the Cooch. So the floor is yours. Why are we getting some plus money on Cooch this week?
Hey, we talked about Cooch just a few weeks ago at the RBC Heritage. He easily cashed that one for us then. And really, he's been one of the guys that's just kind of like, there's been a few guys this year, him, Ricky, and Jason Day, that are kind of having a resurgence here on tour. And last week, he missed the top 20 by 1 shot. He was tied for 23rd, but that snapped a run of 3 straight top 20s. And 5 of his last 9 starts are been top 20 finishes, including 4 top 10. So he is playing very well. I mentioned birdies when I was talking about power. While the ability to make birdies gets much of the attention at events with a winning score expected to be as low as it is this week, sometimes, and often, more often than not, rather, it's the ability to save par and keep momentum going that is important to shooting in the mid-60s. And nobody is better than Matt Kuchar when it comes to the ability to save par. He ranks first in strokes gained around the green, first in sand save percentage, and first in overall scrambling. So the guy is a master with the wedge. Again, only 2 previous tournaments here to look at, but like Power, Kuchar is top 20s in both, tied for 17th last year, 2021, and tied for 12th last year. So he's got form, he's got confidence at this track. I think he's going to have another good week. So let's go, Cooch!
The Cooch is a master with the wedge. They write themselves sometimes, Nick. All right, brother, we already let people know. Welcome 2023. Bringing Nick Borrman to Wager Talk. We're very excited about it, and you can take 50% off any package up to a year all access, as long as it's not on $9 Monday. What kind of stuff are they going to find locked and loaded over on your page on the way out, Nick?
Of course, we got this PGA event up and ready to go for this tournament. All the outrights are loaded. I'll add the leaderboard bets later today. And then I do have one soccer play each of the next 3 days. We got Champions League Tuesday and Wednesday, and Europa League on Thursday. All in the semifinals, all huge, huge matchups. So one best bet available each day for the next 3 days over at WagerTalk as well.
Love it. Always a pleasure, Nick, and great seeing you back over at Wager Talk. Check out him and all of the great handicappers over there, and also check out the deals page. You never know what you're going to find over there, saving you some coin while hopefully making you some coin with the selections. So that's going to do it for us. Big thanks to my man, Nick Borrman. Big thanks to Andy Lang as well. Andy will be back talking a little UFC on tomorrow's edition alongside Kevin Dolan, breaking down the biggest fights in boxing this weekend. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And until next time, I'm your host, Dan Alexander, wishing you the best of luck, and we'll see you right back here on Wager Talk Extra.